We've all been there. You didn't sleep well last night, so you decided to take a nap, and the next thing you know, you're waking up in the middle of the night, wondering what the heck is going on. Or you do decide to nap, you wake up, you feel good, but then you can't go to sleep at night, and then you're just frustrated. Napping can be a great tool if you use it correctly. But at the same time, if you do it incorrectly, it can actually hurt you in the long run and make it so you can't fall asleep properly. So you might not know, but simply changing the timing or the duration of your naps may be all you need to do to fix them. Now, naps also have their limitations. So I'm going to talk about how you can start napping correctly so they can actually start helping you rather than hurting you. And I'm also going to talk about power naps and proper nap timing and nap duration. So make sure you stick around. So first of all, in developed countries right now, humans are not sleeping the way that nature intended us to. And this is mainly to do with modernization that's been taken over. So right now, most humans have what's called a monophasic sleeping duration, where they sleep one long period of time at nighttime, and then they're awake the rest of the day. And doing this, most humans are getting less than 7 hours of sleep. But if you look at our ancestors, their sleeping patterns were a lot different than ours right now. For example, if you look at hunter-gatherer tribes right now, like the Gabra tribe in northern Kenya, you'll see that they actually have a biphasic sleeping pattern, where instead of just having one long bout of sleep, they're having a long bout of sleep at night, like about 7 to 8 hours, and then they have another short nap in the afternoon for about 30 to 60 minutes. Also, other hunter-gatherer tribes show a mix in sleeping patterns depending on the time of the year. So for example, the Hadza tribe, which is found in northern Tanzania, they have a biphasic sleeping pattern when it's hot. So in the summer months, they'll have about a 30 to 40 minute nap in the afternoon on top of their long bout of sleep at night. But then when it gets cold, so in the winter months, they just have a more monophasic, longer sleeping pattern at night. So naps really aren't a bad thing. So if you're thinking that, oh, I shouldn't be napping every day, or I have such a bad habit that I nap all the time, it's really not bad, because if you look at our ancestors, that's how humans evolved, to nap. And actually, if you look at the studies, you'll see that regular naps may actually be good for you. And there's also a reason that humans want to nap in the afternoon. And there's a reason why humans feel so tired after that lunch or in those later afternoon times. And the reason is humans have this genetically hardwired dip in the afternoon time. So humans are biologically wired to want to nap in the afternoon. So those feelings where after lunchtime you want to go take a nap, well, that is actually genetically wired into your brain. So just some advice, if you have to do a presentation or something for work, I would avoid doing it in the afternoon time after lunch, because even if you're able to keep yourself awake to do that presentation, there's going to be a really hard time for everyone else to be able to stay awake and focus on your presentation. But again, the notion that naps are bad for you is a really common misconception. And also, studies actually show that napping may actually be good for your heart. So naps used to be really popular in areas like South America and Mediterranean Europe. But now, as the world is modernizing more and more, that napping culture has gone down a lot. So one study from the Harvard University School of Public Health wanted to look at the health consequences of people abandoning their midday naps. So their study was looking at over 23,000 Greek adults, and it followed them over a course of over 6 years. So the study was looking at men and women from the ages of 20 to the age of 86, and it was focusing on their cardiovascular outcomes over those 6 years. And before the study, no one in the study had any sort of heart disease or any stroke complications or anything like that. So they were all healthy people. What they found is, over those course of the 6 years, whoever abandoned their midday naps had an increased risk of dying from heart disease by over 37%. And what's even worse is what happened to the working men in that study who stopped napping. So I have a working man here, so it's a man with a pagadi or a turban on, and he also has his tie because he's going to work. The working men that stopped napping had an increased risk of death by over 60%. And that's why he has a frown on his face. So what the study is showing is naps are not a bad thing. And what this also shows is humans evolved having this biphasic sleeping pattern, where we have one long bout of sleep at night, and then we have another nap in the mid-afternoon. Now I want to talk a little bit about power naps. A lot of times we try to use a nap to make up for periods of sleep deprivation. So for example, if you're going to pull an all-nighter, how can you use a power nap to make sure that you're able to focus the next day? Or is that even possible in the first place? Well, it may be, because naps can be a great way to improve your memorization and your focus. Because what a nap is doing is it's essentially clearing away some storage from your hippocampus. So your hippocampus is this region in your brain right here. And it's basically this short-term memory storage center. So as you're awake throughout the day, all this learning and all these memories that are coming in are being stored in your hippocampus. But the problem with your hippocampus is it only has a limited amount of storage. So think of it as basically a USB thumb drive that's in your brain. And once you exceed that information, you can't really store any more info in your hippocampus. So when you go to sleep, the information in your hippocampus actually gets relayed to the outside part of your brain. And this is basically your brain's way of hitting that save button, because it's basically turning these short-term memories into long-term storage memories. Now, the good thing with that is it frees up information in your hippocampus so that now when you're awake again, now you can start storing that short-term info into your hippocampus again. So knowing that information, how can you use a nap to maximize your ability to memorize something or learn some new information? Well, there was a study kind of answering this question. So this study was done by a sleep researcher named Dr. Matthew Walker. He basically took a group of healthy young adults and put them into two groups. One group was a group that got to nap, and the other group did not get to nap. So there was a napping group and a non-napping group. So initially, all the subjects went under intense learning. So they had to look at a bunch of these face name pairs and memorize them. And then after they learned, they took a test. So at first, not surprisingly, all the participants scored pretty similarly in their tests. Then one of the groups took a 90-minute nap and the other group stayed awake. And they just did some random tasks like playing board games or browsing the internet, etc. And then in the evening, they underwent learning again. So again, they looked at all these face name pairs and they had to memorize them. And then they took another test. But this time was a little different. The group that was able to nap actually had a significantly higher result in their test scores the second time around. So the group that was able to nap had a 20% advantage over the group that did not nap. So if you're in college or something like that and you can kind of arrange your schedule, or if you have classes in the morning and then you have classes in the evening, you can use that midday nap to your advantage. By simply napping after your morning classes, you're creating more storage space in your hippocampus so that when that evening time comes, your focus is going to be a lot better and your ability to process that information is going to be a whole lot better. But this can be a real challenge right now because a lot of times schooling, you're stuck in that 8 to 5. This was me, for example, in dental school, where I was in class from 8 until 5 p.m. and those 8 a.m. classes, I was able to focus, but by the time it came to that 5 p.m. class, my brain really wasn't processing any of that information. Now, this doesn't just help with memorizing facts. This can also help with your motor memories. So another study by Matthew Walker took two groups, and they had them learn a set of keys with their left hand. So they had to type this numeric sequence on this keyboard with their non-dominant hand and try to memorize it. And they were trying to see how quickly and how accurately they were able to press that repetition of keys. So kind of similar to before, both groups underwent the learning in the morning and then they were tested 8 hours later. The only difference was the first group was able to nap for 60 to 90 minutes and the other group did not nap. And when they were doing their testing later, the no nap group, they showed no improvement in their performance. But the group that did nap, they actually showed a significant improvement in both their accuracy and also their speed in typing that number sequence. So this shows that simply doing a daytime nap can actually help improve your motor memories. So if you're learning a new instrument or if you're practicing your instrument all day, simply doing a midday nap after you practice can actually help form those motor memories better and actually help you perform even better later that day. But what about naps when you're actually sleep deprived? Well, this is actually where the term power napping came from. It came from studies on pilots, because a lot of times pilots have to undergo these long periods without sleeping, sometimes even up to 36 hours. So the way this all started was the FAA, or the Federal Aviation Authority, they were asking these sleep researchers, what is the best way for a pilot to take advantage of their sleep if they can only sleep a short amount of time within these 36-hour window? So this research was done by a sleep researcher named David Dinges. And what Dinges found in his study was that when these pilots would front load their naps before their impending sleep deprivation, these pilots suffered much less of these microsleeps. Microsleeps are basically these brief, momentary lapses in these concentration. And you get a lot of these the more and more sleep deprived that you are. And you can see this can be a big problem for a pilot, because imagine a pilot going on this long journey if you're traveling across the world. By the time you have to land, that's, first of all, the most dangerous part about flying, but that's also the part where the pilot is going to be the most sleep deprived. So that's the last time you want a pilot to have a micro sleep or a momentary lapse like that, especially when that pilot has 400 or something passengers whose lives are solely in that pilot's hands. So when Dinges presented his findings to the FAA and told them, hey, it's best when you front load these naps for these pilots, so we're going to call them these prophylactic naps, where it's basically a planned nap that you take before you're going to undergo this sleep deprivation. The FAA took that information, but they changed the term to power napping because it just sounded cooler. But the problem now is a lot of people think that all you need is a power nap and a little bit of caffeine, and this can make up for long periods of sleep deprivation over and over. But no matter what way you look at it or what studies you look at, there is absolutely no way that simply doing a power nap and drinking some caffeine can make up for long bouts of sleep deprivation. Power napping and caffeine can be great tools, but they should only be used as temporary fixes. They should not be how someone practices their life every single day. What you should really strive for is getting 8 hours of sleep every single night, and only using a power nap like this as a last resort. But that being said, if you did have to use this power nap, now you have some knowledge that you can use it to your advantage. So for example, if you're in school and you know that you have to stay up all night studying, and believe me, I did this a ton in high school and in college. Now you know if you absolutely have to pull an all-nighter, it's better to take a nap that evening before you're staying awake all night, so that you're kind of protecting yourself from this long bout of sleep deprivation. And it's also going to help clear out your hippocampus a little bit and make more room in your brain to store new memories for all that learning and all that last-minute cramming you're doing. Now, what is the best way to time your naps? And how long should your naps actually be if you want to maximize or optimize their naps the best way possible? Well, in a nutshell, you don't want your naps to be too long, and you don't want them to be too late into the evening. So if it's your regular everyday nap that you're doing, it's best if you keep it in the afternoon and you keep that nap under 90 minutes. And I'm going to explain more of that why. First of all, I know I talked about this before, but humans have this genetically hardwired dip in the afternoon. So the way that humans evolved, they evolved having this biphasic sleeping pattern. That means that our ancestors would sleep for a long period of time at nighttime, so for about 7 to 8 hours, and then in the afternoon they would have another 30 to 60 minute nap. So that means that after that lunch, when you're feeling super tired, that feeling of tired is hardwired into your brain so that you have to feel like you have to nap at that time. But the other thing to understand with your napping is every time you're napping or sleeping, you're clearing away a molecule called adenosine from your brain. So your adenosine is basically this sleep pressure molecule that builds up. So the longer you are awake, the more that this sleep pressure builds up, the more that this adenosine will build up in your brain. And all this molecule is doing is basically telling you that you're sleepy. So if you stay awake all night long, you're going to have a ton of this adenosine, and it's going to make you feel sleepier and sleepier. So this is why you want to make sure you do not nap too late into the evening, and also don't nap too long. Because if you nap too late in the evening, or if you nap too long, you're going to be clearing away a lot of this adenosine, and you're not going to be giving enough time for that adenosine to build up enough so that you can sleep for that long period of time at nighttime. This is why it's best to take a shorter nap in the afternoon. So you're still getting the benefits of that napping, but you're also allowing time for that adenosine to build up throughout the day. The other reason you don't want to nap too long, and you don't want to nap longer than 90 minutes, is we have these 90-minute sleep cycles where we drift through these 4 stages of sleep, and the last stage ends up being our REM sleep, where a lot of our dreaming occurs. If you get too much into this REM sleep during your nap, then it's going to be a lot harder for you to wake up, and you're going to be a lot groggier when you wake up. So have you ever had a nap where you wake up and it's been like 3 hours and you're just like, oh my God, where am I? You were in this crazy dream and you just can't even like get back in the zone anymore? Well, that's probably because you were napping too long. This is why it's best to keep your naps shorter so that you don't drift into those later stages or those deeper parts of your sleep cycles. Because a lot of people think that you need to get one full sleep cycle to nap properly. Well, you don't necessarily need to do that. Even getting those first couple stages of your sleep cycle can do a lot of benefits for you. So you don't have to get a full 90-minute sleep cycle when you're doing your nap. So how long is the best time to nap for? Ideally, I think a 20-minute nap would be perfect, but I always recommend 30 minutes because it's going to take you about 10 minutes sometimes to fall asleep in the first place. That way you know you're not getting too deep in those sleep cycles so that when you wake up, you're not going to feel super groggy. But also the other thing is that even a short nap like this can help a lot with your memories. We talked a little bit before about your memory consolidation, where your short-term memories throughout the day are being stored in your hippocampus. And then when you sleep, those memories are being cleared away so that you make more room in your hippocampus so that you can store more memories once you wake up. Well, studies are showing that even a 20-minute nap, you can get this memory consolidation, and when you wake up, you can improve your ability to learn more. So if you're struggling with your naps or you just can't get your naps down right, try doing a short 20 to 30 minute nap in the afternoon and see if that makes a difference. If you're trying to lose weight, chances are you've probably tried one diet or another and things just haven't worked as well as you wanted them to. Now, the thing about losing weight is it's already hard enough. But what people really need to understand when they're actually embarking on their weight loss journey is you want to do it in a safe way. And that is in a way